Team Software is very excited to exhibit at the ISSA and BSCAI trade show October 26th through the 29th in Chicago. Please visit us at booth 4413 to learn about new, exciting changes happening at Team Software. You will have the opportunity to interact with our brand new eHub employee and customer self-service program. This tool allows employees and managers in the field to review timekeeping records, manage inventory, work tickets, inspections, and much more. eHub has been completely rewritten to provide customers with a new platform that's extremely easy to use, compatible with any browser, and accessible on any device. Come see how easy it is to manage operations on the go. Please also stop by for a chance to win an iPad. We will give away an iPad each day of the trade show. We look forward to seeing you at booth 4413. In the meantime, visit us at teamsoftware.com.
Hi, this is Dick. Just want to remind you that we have started our Selling Contract Cleaning Services webinar series, but you can still register for the remaining sessions by going to our website, consultantsandcleaning.com. Your time will be well spent. We look forward to having you. Now, on to this week's CleanCast.
Welcome to our CleanCast today. Thanks for joining us. I've entitled today's session, Build Your Own. Now, I field calls constantly from BSCs complaining about the lack of quality supervisors. There just aren't any available to manage the new business that they're taking on. And what am I going to do? You know, I have to grow, and yet I can't find good supervisors. Well, here's a novel approach. Let me give you a novel approach. Build your own. Let me suggest that you start if you haven't already, start a paid supervisors training class of potential supervisors. Maybe you have a good current employee, but they just haven't really been given a chance, or that you see them cleaning, but you think, well, they got the personality for it. I don't know if they got everything else for it, but let's maybe give them a chance. You know, one of the things that we did in our organization for many, many years is we held quarterly paid supervisors management training meetings. And we required the supervisor from each building to attend, and we required that the person that they kind of relied on as their go-to person had to come with them. And the reason we asked for that is that this was one way that we could start building a supervisory pool in the company. And we found, and maybe you have found the same thing, that if we went to a supervisor and said, we're starting a new building down the street here, and we need somebody who can supervise 2 other people 4 hours a night. It'll be a working supervisor's position. Do you have somebody that you could recommend that we put in that position? And I will tell you, nearly every time we got the answer, and you may too, no. These people just work. They aren't supervisor material. And it took us a while to figure out the reason they were saying that is if I took a good person from their crew, put them down the street to manage those other 2 people, then they would have to start really going to work and train somebody to replace them. And they just had their machine running really nice now. And if I pluck a person out of there, if they recommend somebody and I pluck them out, my God, I just got this thing organized to where it runs smooth and I don't have to work very hard. And now so they would always tell me no. So we started these quarterly paid supervisors management training meetings, and they were held like the second Saturday of every 3rd month. We had it down, every calendar, next year's calendar was out there and everybody knew when they were. And everybody that was a supervisor had to bring their go-to person. We had it usually at the our home office was Wichita, Kansas, and we'd actually fly people in from other places in the Southwest, and California, and places that we were, and for this meeting. It was a big deal for us. And we'd hold it many times at, we either held it at a hotel or Wichita State University. Had a great Center for Management Development center there that we could have rooms and food and things like that. But it was an opportunity. We always had a good training program, but it was also an opportunity for me and for the other top management in our company to observe others that were there that maybe, we'd say, hey, Susan really performed here in this meeting. Maybe Susan ought to be on our list for the next time we have an opening. And that was one thing that we did. The other thing that we did, after, once we'd have a pool, maybe it was only a pool of 5, through our whole company. We would put together, we had what I call a supervisor's training class. And frankly, I wrote it. Must have been good, right? Just kidding. It was 5 3-hour sessions. Monday, Tuesday, it was on 1 week, Monday through Friday. 6 to 9 each night. We paid them to come. That meant the supervisor in the building that they were coming from had to fill in for them for those 3 hours. And many times they would leave us and go to work and still work another hour or 2 at the building where they were assigned to. But we would here are some of the topics. The first night was pretty much the company culture and the whole process of recruiting and training, orientation, policies, company culture, as I said. The next time was on how do we handle complaints. As a supervisor, how would you handle your complaints? The next session was on how do you handle discipline as a supervisor, what's your responsibility and how do you do it? And then the next session was customer relations. You're going to be coming in contact with customers and how do you handle that? And then we had a session on dealing with different generations, different cultures. And actually that was kind of the, you've probably seen my book, The Guide to Effective Supervision, and that was kind of the impetus that prompted this book. I wrote this stuff, and then it's been updated, of course, to the 2015, 2016, 2017 time frame from when we were doing this. But and truthfully, it's a lot different today than it was back in 2004 and 2002. But nevertheless, and then we had a session, we ended the thing on actually on how do you conduct training. So we had about 7 or 8 topics that we did over a period of 5 nights and 15 hours. Now if they completed that week, that resulted in a wage increase and a diploma. And most of the supervisors that ended up out in the field came from that class. Because when we started it, we actually made every existing supervisor go through it that we already had out in the field. And we had a lot of work to do in that. We tried to intermingle some of the existing ones, the existing supervisors and those that we wanted to become supervisors or thought could become supervisors. And so we had kind of the classes were a little larger to start, and then as everybody that was out there already got trained, then then we started having 5 and 6 and 8 people at these. But if they did the work, if they completed the week, and completed it successfully, it required was a wage increase and a diploma. And some of them, I'll tell you right now, some of them used that diploma to get a better job from an in-house company. I don't know of any that left to go to another contract cleaning company, but I do know of a few that went to, our headquarters was Wichita, Kansas, and we had, at that time, all the major aircraft companies were in-house: Boeing, Beech, Cessna, Learjet, and I remember having a conversation, I won't say which one, but I had a conversation with one of the aircraft companies that called and hired. They actually hired, over the course of about 3 months, hired 2 of my people. And after he hired the second one, he said, "You know what, I hired your first one because I thought that was a good idea, and she is so good that all the second one had to do was show me the diploma, and I hired her." And so I said, "Well, that's great. Just send me a fee," which they didn't, and I didn't really ask for. But my point was, too, that, I have a responsibility to help them if I can. How can I, because they actually could go out and double their wages, and sometimes triple their wages. And don't I have a responsibility to help them support their family? And if they can do that with that position somewhere else, so be it. I wish them well. I'll do my best to try to keep them, but I can't compete from some of that. But nevertheless, we did create some great supervisors by doing that. So think about it. Instead of trying to recruit supervisors from a competitor who they probably don't do it right anyway, you hire them with all their bad behavior. They bring all their bad stuff to you. Why don't you make it a habit to start building your own? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.